set the school record for receptions in a single season with 50. He left Fairmont State third all-time in receptions. He was also a first-team All-WVIAC punter. He set the school record with a 73-yard punt, and that record still holds, plus records for punting attempts and punting total yards. He was also a member of 2 West Virginia Conference Championship teams. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mark Waslo.
Wow, how good is this? Mike, I know that Ray Thompson and John Harbert are glad you handed that to me, because I think they would have bet that I would have dropped it. So, thank you all. This is such an incredible honor. As Brian showed, it's very emotional. It's very humbling. I'm very proud to be up here. And thinking about what I wanted to say tonight, I started thinking about how it is that I got to be standing here before you. How did I get here? It was truly a journey, and it involved so many people, many of you all that are out here tonight. So that's what I decided to talk to you about, my journey to get here. For those of you that don't know me, I'm actually a homeboy. I'm born and raised here in West Virginia, a couple hours south of here in Pocahontas County. I'm the second youngest of 6 siblings, an older brother, 3 older sisters, and a younger brother. My childhood was, well, probably not quite the norm of most. My mother was killed in a car wreck when I was 5 years old. My father battled alcoholism. So as you can imagine, life was different for my siblings and me. Created quite a lot of challenges growing up, and I think we've overcome quite a bit of shown a lot of perseverance and where we are today. I was 5, my little brother was only 2. We really didn't have the challenges because we were still rugrats, not yet anyway. But my sisters were 18, 13, and 11 at the time that they lost their mother. They're the ones that had the challenges. My brother and I still had our father, but for my sisters to lose their mother at that very impressionable ages, well, as you can imagine, I've often looked back at my daughters when they were at that age, and I've tried to imagine what my sisters went through without their mother. And what they did was pretty amazing. They ended up pretty much raising my younger brother and I. My older sister was just leaving for college when her mom died. So you can imagine having that responsibility on your shoulders when you went to college. She pretty much gave up college life, came home on weekends to take care of us. My other sisters, of course, pitched in. So thanks to them, that's why I'm standing here. So Trish, Sue D, thank you. I love you. I've often wondered what life would be like if we hadn't lost our mother, how we would have turned out, how our lives would have been different, whether I'd really be standing here before you right now. Growing up, it was pretty much about sports for me, morning till night. Either playing football with friends, swimming at a local pool, playing basketball, watching sports on TV with my dad and my brother. I pretty much drove my dad crazy. I was either bouncing a ball off the roof or the walls of the house back to myself. Made him put up a basketball hoop in the backyard. He put up a tire swing for me so I could throw a football through it. And whoever came up with that idea, that was wrong. That was pretty silly, but he did. And of course, I wore my little brother out by making him come outside and play with me. When I got to high school, I was very lucky to have such a great head coach. He was a hell of an athlete in his day also. We developed a great relationship that went beyond the football field. I spent a lot of time with he and his family. And as a young athlete, you really don't realize at the time the things that he's teaching you. All the fundamentals, techniques, how they would come into play at the next level. I'm very lucky to have my coach here tonight. I appreciate you and your wife coming. You all were awesome, Coach. You're doing good. Thank you. Spent a lot of time with me, going the extra mile, and getting me here today. He's one of the reasons I'm here. When it came time to pick a college, I had visited a few schools, but when I came here to Fairmont State and I met Coach Ritchie, my decision was easy and clear. This is where I wanted to come play. I wanted to play for Coach Ritchie. Coach couldn't be here tonight. He had back surgery last week. We talked on my ride in today, and I'm pretty sure he's watching on the webcast. So he'll get a kick out of this. He really wanted to be here. We've stayed in touch over the years. We talked last week for about an hour about tonight. Everything involved with this, all the feelings, all the emotions. But I was impressed with him from the very first meeting, and I couldn't wait to get here and play for Fairmont State. So kind of what Brian was talking about, when football camp opened up my freshman year, at our very first team meeting, there were over 100 players in the room. That's a lot of players. Coach Ritchie welcomed us, talked for a few minutes, introduced the other coaches, and then he had each of us stand up, introduce ourselves, what position we played, and where we were from. Now again, there's 100 guys in the room, and all these big athletes are standing up. It was very intimidating, as Brian said. I'm sitting there thinking, wow. If that wasn't intimidating enough, there was a guy in the back of the room, had a flowered shirt on, stood up and he said, "I'm Lou Gehry, offensive guard, Honolulu, Hawaii." And I looked over at my roommate and I said, "They recruit all the way from Hawaii?" I said, "I'll never play here." So here I was, ordinary old country boy on campus with all these big guys strutting around, a lot of attitude. They're college football players. And like Brian, I came from a small AA school. It was very intimidating. I went back to my room and I was wondering if I really, really should be here. What am I doing here? In high school, you're the big guy on campus. You've never failed, you've never not played, and now you're competing against 100 guys for some playing time. So it was intimidating. I was feeling kind of homesick. I was wondering if I should get in the car and go home. It truly crossed my mind. It truly crossed my mind. It was that close. So I started to unpack, and when I opened my bag, there was a note from my little brother that said, "Good luck, make me proud." Well, that certainly changed things. Put everything in a whole different perspective for me. I couldn't leave now after that message. Obviously, I stayed, and I was lucky enough that 3 years later, he followed me here to Fairmont State, and we got to spend 2 great years together before I graduated. You know how college life is. I can't go into those details. This is a G-rated dinner, and there's children. But if you can imagine a movie that would combine Animal House and The Hangover, you get a good idea. It wasn't long before I realized I could compete with the guys out there. I came here as a quarterback, but standing beside Luke Tusignant, who went into the Hall of Fame a couple years ago, 6'4", 215, took about 2 seconds to realize I needed to find another position if I was going to play. So the coaches moved me out to wide receiver, and we started developing those skills. And I won the job as a starting punter as a freshman for my very first game. I wasn't so sure about that job either, because every time Coach Ritchie would walk by, even though I was out kicking the other punters, Coach Ritchie would walk by and said, "Just so you know, Waz, I've never started a freshman. Don't worry about it. You're not going to play." And I said, "Why is that, Coach?" And he says, "Because all freshmen crap their pants when the time comes, when you get out on the field." Well, he started me my very first game against Edinburgh, Pennsylvania. The regular long snapper at the time was recovering from a broken leg. So here's Coach worried about me, and what's he do? He started another freshman as the long snapper. So I'm back to punt, very first time in my career. I'm almost punting out of my own end zone. Very nervous. He snaps it, the ball never got off the ground. It rolled and hopped the whole way back to me. And as I'm watching the ball, I can see the Edinburgh guy is probably going to get to me before the ball does. I grabbed it, I took off running, around the left side, got around him, ran about 20 yards, and made a first down. So that was a heck of an introduction to college football. Wasn't long after that, I'm back out there again to punt. I'm not as nervous, but obviously the snapper was, because he snapped it again, the ball never got off the ground, just hopped all the way back. I grab it, this time I took off running to the right. I pretty much get around the end, and this time I realize I'm heading toward their bench. And all I can see is, I know there's only 11 guys out there, but I could see 20, 30 white shirts. So I think I was beyond the first down marker. I crapped my pants, I stopped, I turned around, reverse field, came all the way back around. My heart's racing. I probably was breathing, sounding like Darth Vader, wind rushing through my helmet, and over all of that I can hear Coach Ritchie saying, screaming, "I knew I shouldn't have started a rookie." Anyway, picked up some blockers, ended up running about 30 yards, got another first down. As we were being knocked out of bounds, I fumbled the ball, but we rolled out of bounds. I'm on the bottom of the pile. The pile gets off of me, and the first person to pick me up is Coach Ritchie. And he brushes me off, and you had to know Coach Ritchie. He said, "God love you, son." He said, "You can run the ball anytime," but he said, "Don't you ever fumble again." Coach was a great guy. The other athletes all talked about how they honor their coaches. He will always be the head coach. He will always be my coach. Anyway, the rest is history. I'm not going to go through every game. I did set a number of receiving and punting records. So many incredible memories that I have from those days. When the guys were always together, we tell the stories over and over, year after year, same stories. I ended up dropping more balls every year than I did the previous year, but the guys are great. By the way, at the opening meeting of camp my sophomore year, when the introductions were being made, Lou Gehry in the back again, the guy that scared me, stood up, said, "I'm Lou Gehry, offensive guard, Buzzard Breath, Wyoming." And I heard these three freshmen say, "They recruit from Hawaii, I'll never play." I'll never forget it as long as I live. Fairmont State was the right choice for me. The education I received, I earned 2 engineering degrees, great times that I had. The friendships that were developed, like the other athletes talked about, they're never ending. Winning championships like we did, if you didn't play hard every day, you had someone that was going to take your job. We had such an incredible work ethic for the entire team. It was